second speaker today is Mark Robinson, who has been North Carolina's Lieutenant Governor since 2021. He grew up in Greensboro and has served in the U.S. Army Reserve and worked in various industries, including a long stint in furniture manufacturing. Please join me in giving a warm Wilmington welcome to Mark Robinson.
Well, thank you all for being here today, this morning, and as always, we give thanks to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for giving us our life and our health and our strength, allowing us to do what we do on a daily basis, and allowing us to live in such a blessed and prosperous land. So we give him thanks first and foremost. Well, guys, let me get this straight right from the very beginning. I do not have time here in this 10 minutes to cover all the things that my opponent has not done as Attorney General. I prefer to stick with what I want to talk about, which is the vision that I have for the state of North Carolina, the way we can partner with the people of North Carolina to take this state to its next great heights, and to tell you just a little bit about who I am. And that's what we're going to focus on here today. We're going to focus on those things. Number one, my name is Mark Robinson. I was born and raised in Greensboro. I have a close connection to the city of Wilmington. My mother was born in a little town close to here called Burgaw, very tiny town. She moved to Greensboro, met my father, and from there, I am the result. Me and my 10 siblings. I'm number 9 of 10 children. Grew up in a very traditional way. Grew up in a 2-parent household all the way up to the age of 12. Pretty poor. Grew up under poor conditions by American standards, of course. Maybe not by world standards, but certainly by American standards. But I had a good mom. My mom set a huge standard for me in my life. My mom, when my father died, had the opportunity to live off of government assistance, but she chose work. And she showed me that work is a determining factor. Whether or not you're willing to work is a determining factor in success or failure. She set that standard in my life early, and my mother is the greatest hero that I've ever known in my life. All the heroes that I've read about, from George Washington to General Patton, none of them can compare to my mom and what she did for me and for my siblings. And so I count her as the greatest hero that I've ever known. I served a little bit in the United States Army. I was in the United States Army Reserves as a medic in an ambulance company, and I spent most of my working career in furniture manufacturing, losing 2 jobs because of NAFTA. The most recent was in High Point, where I worked almost 10 years. That job was sent to Reynosa, Mexico. It's one of the most painful experiences of my life, was watching those folks who had put decades of work into that company. To see it pulled, the rug pulled out from underneath them. It was very painful to watch that. But it was one of the things that energized me politically. And it's the reason why I'm so passionate about the things that we're going to be focused on in this race. Now, there are a lot of folks that are going to say that Mark Robinson is some culture war, is going to be focused on the, quote, culture wars. That is not true. And that is not the message that we have been presenting, and that is not what we will be doing as governor. As governor, we are going to be laser focused on the substantive issues that face all North Carolinians. And from my purview, what I see is the top 2 issues are our economy and our education. We can take a look at both of those things separately. When you say the economy is a singular issue. Okay, it's a single issue, but it is not a singular issue. Our economy is built on pillars. And what are those pillars? It's public safety, public education, health care, infrastructure, and housing. If you don't have any of those 5 things, you can't have a healthy economy. If any of those things are weak, your economy is going to suffer. Now, why is that important to the governor of North Carolina? It's important for this reason. The governor is the person who appoints that person who sets the tone for law enforcement in this state by appointing the person who is over the Department of Public Safety. The governor is the person who appoints the people to the state school board, which literally sets the standard for education in North Carolina. The governor appoints the person over DHHS, who sets the tone for health care and the associated agencies. And it's the governor who appoints the person over DOT and DEQ, which to a large extent determine the success of our infrastructure and our housing. So the governor plays a crucial role in determining the economic success of this state. Now, the things that we want to do with those agencies is twofold. Number one, We want to put people inside those agencies that are going to change the culture thereof. What do I mean by that? I want to put people over the head of those agencies who understand one crucial thing, and it's this: that they do not work for the state of North Carolina. They work for the people of North Carolina. We want those folks to be laser focused, not on being a hindrance, but being a help. Now, of course, we don't want those folks to overlook those bad actors. State agencies are created to put up guardrails, but we are not supposed to take the guardrails that those state agencies put up and turn them into barriers. And all too often in politics, that's what happens. We want to remove that from our state agencies. Our state agencies have to facilitate the success of the businesses that they are working with. And that's what we want to do. That's the culture change we want to bring. We want to get those folks to understand you are there, not to find problems, so to speak, but to find solutions so that our businesses, no matter how big, no matter how small, no matter what corner of the state they may be in, that they can succeed and continue to serve their clients. The second thing that we want to do, we want to modernize those agencies. We're living in a time right now where you can go on your phone right now, order something on Amazon, and by the time you get home, it's there. I believe the state government needs to start working towards being just that fast and efficient. Why? Because I want you to think about this. For every dollar that a state agency holds a business project up, that's not only a dollar that's not going into that business owner's pocket where they can reinvest into their business. That's another dollar that's not going into the revenue of this state. So literally, when our state agencies hold up our business, they're holding up our revenue. So we need to make sure we get those agencies modernized so they can serve properly the people that they're supposed to be serving. So that's that economy piece. The whole goal with our economy here is also to do this. Right now, North Carolina's economy is very fragmented. You go out to the west, you come to the middle of the state, you go to the eastern part, you go to the coast. Every part looks different. A lot of opportunity right in the middle. And in pockets in the east, there's opportunities. But in large swaths of the west, large swaths of the east, we see diminished opportunities, or as I like to say, opportunities not taken advantage of. You know, North Carolina's been on a great track since 2010. Prior to 10, we were deeply in debt to the federal government to the tune of billions of dollars. We were furloughing state workers. Teachers didn't get a raise for 6 years. For 6 long years. State troopers, their hiring was frozen. We were in a very bad place financially. We had a takeover in the legislature in 2010. The Republicans took the majority. Now, 14 years later, not only are we not in debt to the federal government, we have a $5 billion surplus. We're the #1 business destination in the nation. We need to use what we have, that groundwork that we have laid. We need to use that now to spread our economy from Murphy to Manteo. And the changes we are proposing and the changes I am proposing as governor with our state agencies and with many other things, I believe could start that process in earnest to ensure that in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, North Carolina looks a whole lot different and a whole lot better. I know that's impossible to imagine, but it can. So we separated education out of that piece for a specific reason. Education's got its own set of challenges that it has to meet. Right now, I believe the saddest statistic in this state is this. The saddest statistic in this state is that we spend 61% of our state budget, 61% of our entire budget on public education, and our children can't read, statistically speaking, on a grade level. That is not a passing grade. And before I go a moment further, let me make this plain. It is not the fault of our teachers. It is not. The overwhelming majority of our teachers are great people doing a great job under some of the most difficult circumstances you can imagine. They are not paid well. They are not protected, and they are not respected. The things that are happening with our teachers right now, I mirror with our police officers. They are very much under the gun, and they very much need relief, and we plan on bringing that. The failures in our state when it comes to education can be laid right at the feet of our state school board. Whether you like it or not, I sit on the state school board. I hear it every day. They're wrong-headed and they're headed in the wrong direction. There's entirely too much agenda packed into the classroom. We need to get back to classical education, folks, teaching our children to read and write and do mathematics. We need to start teaching them history and civics and financial literacy. We need to get back to teaching our children to be proud to be Americans again. The Chinese communists are teaching their children to be proud to be Chinese communists. Why are we not teaching our children to be proud to be Americans with all the great things that America has done and continues to do? And here's a big one. We have got to get our children career ready. We have to open up the world to them, give them a world-class K through 12 education, and then get them set for whatever they're ready to step into, whether that is a community college, whether that is a four-year university, or whether that's the family business, the United States military, or their own business. Whatever it is, a world-class North Carolina K through 12 education should set them up for success. And here's probably the icing on the cake. Parents, not governments, not bureaucrats, not governors, nobody else. Parents should be in charge of their children's educational destiny. So, folks, as we move forward in this election, that's what you're going to hear from me. You're not going to hear a whole bunch about a whole bunch of social issues. You're not even going to hear me talk about my opponent. I'll let his work speak for itself, or should I say the work he hasn't done speak for itself. But we're going to be laser focused on those substantive issues that will take North Carolina to its next great heights. We are headed in the right direction in this state. We just need to fill in one crucial seat to make sure we keep doing it. So thank y'all for being here. God bless you. I'm ready to take your questions. Thank you.
First question is table 15, Martin.
Good morning, Lieutenant Governor. My wife and I, we have one son that gets straight 100s and one son that wanted to start working right after high school. I've heard you mention a couple of times about your workforce and skills labor development initiative. If you could expound on that. Thank you.
Sure. So he was asking about the workforce development. One of the things that I think a disservice that we have done to our children over the last few decades, certainly when I was in high school, it was all about getting college ready. Everybody wanted to be ready to go to college, a four-year university. Well, a four-year university degree is great, folks. I'm not here to bash four-year university degrees. Of course, we need doctors and lawyers, and we need folks who are ready to go in the university system and start their careers. But a four-year university degree is not necessary for success. And we have told our children over the past decades that a four-year university degree is absolutely essential for real success. It is not. North Carolina has got a lot of building to do. We have a lot of building to do in this state. In order to do that building, we've got to have builders. We have to have people who work with these, who work with their hands. We have to have plumbers and electricians and carpenters and brick masons, mechanics of all sorts. And that's where we're headed in this state right now. There is a huge focus right now on the trades in this state, and I'm glad to see it finally happening. We are getting back to teaching our children those crucial skills that they can use their hands to work with, all of those skills that we all need. We need them for our homes. We need them for our businesses. We need them in government. And so we are laser focused on making sure that we continue to fund the 58 community colleges here in this state. They're running very well right now. They're firing on all cylinders. Back when I was a kid, the community college was a weird cinder block building where people went and nobody knew what they came out doing. That is not the case anymore, folks. If you have not been on your local community college campus, please visit. These folks are doing great work every day. And not only are they doing great work, they are turning out folks who are not coming out with jobs. They are coming out with careers. They're going to make these folks outstanding living. So we're laser focused on continuing to do that because we got a lot of building to do, and we need builders, qualified builders, to be able to do it. Next
question, table 4, Bill.
The Republicans have been in charge of the legislature for the last 14 years.
Yes.
Why have the salaries of teachers fallen so far behind?
There's a simple answer to that question. They've been in charge for 14 years. The rest of the time before that, Democrats were in charge. If Democrats were so concerned about teacher salaries, why were they frozen for 6 years under their leadership? Why weren't they pushed up when they were in control? And here's the thing. Republicans have had to get their teacher raises passed over the objections of a Democratic governor. We had to veto his override. We had to override his veto of our budget in order to get those teacher raises passed. We're working fiercely to get that pay up. And we have plans right now to make sure that we do that. One of the things that I would love to see happen in this state is this. I would love to take that education budget and find all those bureaucrats that aren't adding value to education and eliminate their jobs. Yes, you can go work in the private sector and take every one of those dollars and move every one of those dollars to the first priority that we have in education, which is increasing teacher pay. Teachers literally hold our future in their hand. Why do we pay them so little? Why do we respect them so little? And I would submit to you that it's not our party that's doing it. The other party's been in charge of this state for decades, and our teacher pay has been behind. Only under Republican leadership did we break the cycle of no raises and continual raises, even over the objection of a Democratic governor. So it's our party, and it will be me that will work vehemently to make sure teachers are paid what they're worth.
Next question's Heather, table 23.
Hi.
I can't see you. Where are you?
I'm right here.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Wilmington is ranked as one of the top cities in the world for entrepreneurship.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
For entrepreneurship,
Yes.
top in the world.
Yes.
Tell us about how you will foster entrepreneurial innovation across all of North Carolina.
Fantastic question. So that is a huge focus for us as well, because we see right now the advent of companies like Amazon and its origin, Apple and the origins of Apple. Many of our young people know the story of these great entrepreneurs, Jeff Bezos and others, who started in their garages and have built these mega businesses and very successful businesses. And many of them have seen family members do the same thing at a smaller scale. That is one of the reasons why financial literacy is so important to our education scheme. We have got to teach our children how money operates. We have got to teach them the business principles that will help them to be successful. You know, all too often what we do is we tell kids, take the classes you need to take in high school, go to college, get a degree, and everything will be fine. You'll make $100,000, then you'll make $500,000, and you'll retire rich. That's not how it works. There has to be a plan. There has to be a purpose, and there has to be a desired outcome. But above all, there's got to be that knowledge of how the American system works, how our economic system works. And I believe it should start in the earliest of grades, that we should start teaching our children the tenets of how capitalism actually works. Not conjecture, not opinion, but how it actually works, giving them the skills that they need to be able to succeed. And so financial literacy, I think, is a linchpin in being able to teach people how to be entrepreneurs. The second part of it that's huge, too, is opening up the world to our students again. Teaching them that there are more ways to make a living than just one or two or three. Teaching them that when we say being a businessman or a businesswoman means 1,000 things in 1,000 places in 1,000 industries, not just a few. So opening up the world to them and opening their minds is going to be huge as far as that goes too. Right now, as I said, as we travel the state, we meet young people all the time who have great energy. And one of the desires that we hear from many young people, they want to start their own business. But it starts right there again, that K through 12 education, making sure that they have the basics, the reading, writing, and mathematics, the financial literacy, and making sure that the world has been opened up to them so they know what opportunities lay in front of them, so they can find the skills that match theirs and go out and make a great living.
Next question is table 55, Sabrina.
This should be a nice segue, talking about small business. We are a film community. My name's Sabrina Davis, and I'm a small business owner. We employ 20 employees here in Wilmington. I also sit on the Wilmington Film Commission and have for many years. What is your perspective on the relationship between film and the small business economy in our state? Will you support film and streaming production in our state, and if so, how?
So let me give you my philosophy on small businesses. So we all hear about the big businesses that are coming to North Carolina, Apple, Toyota, others. Big businesses are great, and we love big business. We love those industries that come in and employ thousands of people. But let's face it, what really builds a community? It's not the big businesses that really build a community. What builds communities, the connective tissue, as I like to call it, are small businesses. You know, you can think of it in terms of your body, your bicep. Your bicep may be the Toyota, but the tendon that helps it move, that's the small businesses. And so we have to be, again, laser focused on making sure that small businesses are healthy and they're strong. It goes back to what I talked about at the beginning with the state agencies. Many of you all business owners in here, and you know the problems you may face right now with state agencies. State agencies, as we said, are taking those guardrails and turning them into roadblocks. That is particularly taxing for a small business. Big businesses like Apple that have billions of dollars, or Toyota that have billions of dollars, can deal with those issues. But think about that small daycare owner, that small nail shop owner, that small barber shop. They don't have those billions of dollars to overcome those obstacles that an overburdening government may put up in front of them. And so we have to make sure those state agencies, while they're making sure everybody's playing by the rules, they're also being fair with these places. And those folks that work for those state agencies have to understand this. Many of the small businesses that exist in our community, they are the lifeblood of the community. Think about a daycare center that's in a community. Think about that single mom who takes her children to that daycare. She is dependent on that daycare being open every day. She is dependent on the success of that daycare so she can continue to work. Small businesses are literally the connective tissues that help us bind communities together. And so we're going to be working fiercely to make sure that they're protected and do everything that we can to help them grow.
Next question is Gerard, table 23.
Yes, good morning. Filings for new businesses in North Carolina have been the highest in history for the last 3 years. However, failure rates of businesses after 2 to 3 years remain the same, largely due to the high cost of business operations. As governor, what is your vision to help improve small business success rates?
For small businesses, this is definitely the time to talk about remaining fiscally responsible and lowering taxes, lowering tax burdens on people. We've got to do it. Now, I say that, but we have to be really smart, and we have to be really careful when we're talking about lowering taxes. I would love to see us get taxes down to zero, quite frankly. I would love to see it happen. But we have to be really cautious about how we do it, and we have to be really wise about how we do it. Why? Because North Carolina is in a precarious position right now. We're in a great financial situation, and we don't want to blow it right now. We want to make sure that we continue to have enough in the tank to do the things that we need to do, while at the same time we're looking down the road to see the substantive investments that we need to make in the people and places and parts of the state that we can help grow. So we've got to find that balance. But I'd say more than anything, the thing that will help those businesses grow is easing the tax burden on them, because we know what will happen when those folks have more money in their pockets. They will take that money and reinvest it into their businesses and their employees, and to help those businesses grow. So that's definitely what we want to do, the major thing we want to do to help those small businesses survive, particularly if things don't continue to not go well at the federal level.
Table 8, Dory.
Hi, good morning. Pivoting back to education. In the bio essay on your website, you highlight removing inappropriate materials in classrooms. Can you speak to what you specifically want out of the classrooms and why you are motivated to make these changes?
Well, frankly, we've seen some highly objectionable materials in the classroom that are not fit for the consumption of children's eyes. It's the bottom line. It's the bottom line. There's no reason why we should see books that depict what basically amounts to XXX pornography being presented to our children in the library or in the classroom. It has no place in a classroom. Our classrooms are places of education. And that education should be laser focused on making sure that our children are receiving what they need to give them the skills that they need to be able to be successful in life. Now, certainly there may be some that say, well, they need to be able to deal with these complicated issues. Not in 5th grade, you don't. Those are subjects that need to be handled in higher grades, in higher education possibly, but certainly not K through 12 education. And so those objectionable materials, as you called them, we're going to be intentional on removing those from our schools. What are those? I could name you a few books like Gender Queer and others that literally depict what amounts to pornography. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you this. When I bought this up and I called a press conference and I showed the pictures of the books that are available to 5th grade students in North Carolina on the screen to news cameras, the news cameras had to blur them out, the images out on the 6 o'clock news. Not fit for the consumption of their 6 o'clock viewers, but they're somehow fit for the consumption of 5th graders. We've had individuals who've objected to them that have gone to the school boards and tell the 5th graders they should read these books. And when they read them in front of the school board, they're ushered out for using foul language. There's no question that those materials don't belong in our schools. And there's a whole list of them. And we intend to remove them.
And then a quick wrap up. Last question will come from Nick at table 27.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. How do you feel the governor's office can help with the housing affordability crisis? Do you feel it's a supply and demand issue? If so, would you agree with responsible deregulation to remove and reduce the timeline from permitting to the sale of the first new home in a development?
You said it yourself. You said it yourself in the question. That is exactly what we intend to do. Again, it goes straight back to what we talked about in the very beginning. The crucial nature of making sure the right people are over the state agencies that hold sway over so many of our industries. We have got to get those folks to understand that overregulation is an absolute industry killer. We've got to get them to understand that. We've got to get our municipalities to understand that high taxes are our killer. We've got to get these government folks to understand the very stranglehold that they have on industry are the things that are causing, quite frankly, much of our housing crisis. You look at the states where they have massive crisis in homelessness, and then you look at their taxes and their regulations. They're literally running renters and home builders. They're running them out of business. We are not going to do that here in North Carolina. Certainly, we don't want to do things to damage our environment or break the rules, but we want to make sure we remove every unnecessary regulatory policy that's out there that hinders home builders from being able to build homes affordably. We've got to do it, folks. We're not getting any less people. In fact, we're getting more people. And I believe that the situation requires us to take a step back and realize that the government is not the entity that is the end-all, be-all. Government needs to be about this big. We need to start letting the people be this big again. So that's going to be the key, putting people in those regulatory agencies. They're going to remove those barriers from those home builders and from those renters to allow them to be able to affordably apply their wares.
Well, thank you again for coming.
Sir.
If we could please have a round of applause for both candidates.
Thank you.
Thank you again to the sponsors and for everybody attending. Please stay tuned. Our plan is for the September Power Breakfast to have our new Hanover County Commissioner candidates up here. We will send that out as soon as it's set. Thanks again.